There are nights when silence becomes unbearable, when the world outside has stopped moving, and yet inside your skull everything races. You lie there, eyes closed, pretending that sleep is near, but you know the truth. Sleep is not coming. Your thoughts are awake, restless, hungry. They crawl through memories, through fears, through everything you thought you buried deep enough never to feel again. The room is still, but your mind is not. The more you try to quiet it, the louder it grows. The more you beg it to rest, the more it resists. It feels almost personal, as if something inside you refuses to obey, refuses to surrender. And maybe that's exactly what's happening. Maybe the part of you that will not sleep is the part that refuses to die. You try to remember when it started, the sleeplessness, the overthinking, the endless awareness. But the truth is, it's always been there. You've always had nights like this, moments where you feel too conscious, too alive, too awake to trust the illusion of rest. Everyone tells you to let go, to relax, to stop thinking, but they don't understand what it means to have a mind that won't stop breathing. Because the mind breathes through thought, and when it refuses to sleep, it's because something inside it is gasping for meaning. They say sleep is a kind of surrender, a small rehearsal for death. Maybe that's why some of us resist it, because we've already surrendered too much, because deep down we know that closing our eyes means losing control, and we've lost enough already. You stare into the dark, and the dark stares back. You can almost see it, that thin line between wakefulness and dream. It bends, it flickers, it taunts you. You begin to feel that strange awareness of being trapped between worlds, too conscious to dream, too exhausted to think clearly. The body begs for silence, but the mind whispers louder, feeding on its own restlessness. Thoughts begin to twist into shapes. The sound of your own breathing feels distant, mechanical. Every small noise becomes magnified. The hum of electricity, the creak of wood, the heartbeat that refuses to calm. Each sound reminds you that you're still here, that the night hasn't ended, that time is stretching in unnatural ways. It's in this slow expansion of time that the real questions begin to surface. Why can't I rest? What is it that I'm afraid to stop thinking about? What if the part of me that's still awake is the only part that's real? You see, insomnia is not just the absence of sleep, it's the presence of awareness, a heightened, merciless kind of awareness that turns the mind into a mirror. You begin to watch yourself think, to observe the patterns and loops. You start to realize that most of your thoughts don't belong to you. They arrive uninvited, play out their scenes, and vanish into the void they came from. And that's when something more frightening emerges. The thought behind all thoughts, that maybe you are not the thinker, but the thought itself. That consciousness is not something you control, but something that happens to you. You are not steering this ship. You are the passenger watching the waves. In these hours, when the world sleeps and you remain awake, you discover how fragile your sense of self truly is. You realize that consciousness is not a gift, it's a burden disguised as one. You become aware that the mind isn't your ally, it's a storm pretending to be a home. And so you lie there, prisoner of your own inner noise. Every unresolved memory returns like a ghost, whispering what you don't want to remember. The past plays itself again and again, looping like a broken film. Regrets crawl through your chest, shame breathes on your neck, hope hides behind fear, and fear grows into clarity. Somewhere in the middle of that storm, a cruel awareness blooms. The more you fight your thoughts, the stronger they become. Resistance feeds them. The moment you try to silence the mind, it screams louder. You can't overpower it. You can only observe it. Like lightning flashing inside a bottle, too bright to contain, too wild to ignore. At some point, you stop trying to escape it. You let the thoughts come, the dark ones, the painful ones, the ones that make you question who you are. You begin to understand that insomnia is not just a symptom, it's a confession. The confession of a mind that cannot lie to itself anymore. There's a peculiar kind of honesty in wakefulness, the kind that strips away illusions. When you can't sleep, you can't hide. You can't distract yourself with movement or noise. You can only face what's inside. And what's inside is everything you've avoided in the daylight. The sleepless mind is a philosopher without rest. It questions everything, the meaning of time, the nature of thought, the reason we exist at all. You start to see the machinery behind your own perception, the endless cycle of fear, desire, memory, and meaning-making. You begin to ask whether the self you cling to is real or just a reflection the mind creates to give chaos a name. The night has a way of turning philosophy into survival. You begin to see how closely connected thought and suffering really are. Awareness gives you clarity, but clarity demands pain. You cannot wake up to truth and still expect comfort. Maybe that's why the mind refuses to sleep, because it knows that sleep means forgetting, and forgetting means losing the sharpness of being alive. Maybe it's not insomnia that haunts us. Maybe it's awakening itself. And yet, in that endless awareness, there's beauty, a terrible, radiant beauty that comes from realizing that you are both the prisoner and the guard, that your thoughts, as painful as they are proof that something inside you still cares enough to keep asking, still cares enough to stay awake. The mind that refuses to sleep is the mind that refuses illusion. It's the philosopher who cannot pretend anymore, the soul that insists on seeing reality without its comforting lies. But that kind of vision is heavy. The eyes of the sleepless see too much. You begin to notice details that others ignore. The way light fades differently at 4 a.m., the sound of your own pulse, the way your consciousness hovers between moments. You start to feel the weight of being alive, not as a curse, but as a responsibility. You understand that existence itself is fragile, that we are just thoughts pretending to have form. And yet there's something divine hidden in that fragility. The way the mind clings to meaning, even when surrounded by emptiness, reveals something sacred, that consciousness itself is creation. The sleepless are not broken, they are witnesses to that creation. They stand at the edge of thought and see the universe thinking itself through them. Some call it overthinking, but overthinking is just thinking without anesthesia. It's consciousness stripped of its filters. You're not broken, you're simply awake in a world that prefers sleep. But awareness, unguarded and raw, can become its own form of madness. You begin to chase meaning in every shadow, find patterns where there are none, and question whether the search for truth is just another dream the mind refuses to end. You start to realize that maybe the mind doesn't want peace at all. Maybe it feeds on its own chaos. There's a strange comfort in this realization, that the noise inside you is not a malfunction, but a language. The language of thought trying to make sense of the infinite. Every sleepless night becomes a conversation with the void, and the void, in its silence, becomes the only honest companion.
You ask it questions. Why do we suffer? Why do we crave meaning in a meaningless world? And the void answers, not with words, but with reflection, showing you that you are the question itself. Eventually, after enough nights spent in that dialogue, something shifts. You stop fearing the thoughts. You start observing them. You learn to let them flow through you like passing storms. You realize you are not your thoughts. You are the awareness that watches them come and go. And in that awareness, a strange calm begins to grow. It's not peace, not yet, but it's understanding. The realization that the mind doesn't need to sleep to find rest. It only needs to stop fighting itself. Insomnia becomes meditation. The sleepless night becomes a vigil, not against rest, but against forgetting. You start to see your own exhaustion as sacred, your wakefulness as proof that consciousness is alive and unwilling to disappear. And one night, perhaps the 1000th night, you stop counting the hours. You stop bargaining with sleep. You stop wishing for escape. Instead, you simply exist in the space between thought and silence. And in that fragile space, something miraculous happens. You begin to dream while awake. Not the kind of dream that hides you from reality, but the kind that reveals it. You see that the boundary between sleep and awareness is just another illusion. That everything, the dream, the waking, the thought, the silence, is one continuous movement of mind. You realize that the universe itself never sleeps. It dreams through us, through every mind that refuses rest. Each thought, each moment of wakefulness is the cosmos trying to understand itself. The sleepless are its witnesses, cursed and blessed with consciousness too vast to contain. Perhaps that's what we truly are. Fragments of the universe that stayed awake too long. Sparks of awareness refusing to fade back into the dark. We call it insomnia, but maybe it's remembrance, the memory of being infinite. And as you lie there, listening to the soft hum of existence, something inside you begins to understand. This restlessness, this insomnia is not a flaw, but a calling. To remain awake is to participate in creation. To think is to touch eternity. Every sleepless mind is a mirror through which the universe sees itself, fragile, afraid, luminous. The dark outside your window is not empty. It's alive, waiting for you to notice it. The night isn't silence, it's thought made visible, whispering back the same question you've always asked: why am I here? And maybe the answer is this: you are here to be awake, to hold the light when others close their eyes, to be a witness to the endless conversation between consciousness and the void, to walk through the darkness not as a victim of it, but as a student, learning its language, memorizing its rhythm, until the night itself begins to trust you. So when your mind refuses to sleep again, don't fight it. Listen. Somewhere inside that storm of thought, something ancient is speaking. It's the same voice that shaped stars out of chaos, that gave meaning to emptiness, that whispered existence into the void. It's the voice of the sleepless gods, the consciousness that never closes its eyes. And maybe you were never meant to, because to sleep is to forget, and to awaken is to remember. Remember that you are thought, you are awareness, you are the dream that dreams itself. If these words found you in one of those nights, the ones where your thoughts won't let you rest, know this: you are not alone. We all share this sleeplessness, this search, this hunger for meaning in the dark. And if this spoke to something inside you, something that also refuses to close its eyes, stay. Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Join the conversation of those who think too deeply, who feel too much, who refuse the comfort of forgetting. Subscribe to Within the Abyss, where the sleepless find company and the restless find understanding. Because sometimes the night doesn't end when the sun rises. Sometimes the mind refuses to sleep because it's not done dreaming. And maybe that's what awakening truly is. Not the end of darkness, but learning how to see within it.